Hello there, and welcome to My Mom's Basement, presented by Barstool Sports and 3Chi. It is Robbie Fox and Clem, and we are back. Same day as we recorded our episode 1 recap. We are here for our episode 2 recap. In between the recording, few hours, and Clem just went and watched episode 2. So, Clem, I want to get your thoughts right away. I said in the episode 1 recap that I liked these two episodes as a package. Episode 2 made episode 1 better for me. Episode 2 might have even been an improvement on the story for me. What were your thoughts?
Yeah, so now episode 2 now makes sense why I'm seeing all the I'm so excited for Obi-Wan. This was a great start to the series. All those tweets that I had seen where I was kind of eyes half open, trying not to get spoiled for stuff. It all makes a lot more sense now after episode 2, because I think after episode 1, especially after that goddamn chase scene in episode 1, if everyone had finished that, I wonder if like or I guess at this point it's just Disney. Wonder if they were just like, all right, we have to have 2 episodes at once, because if we're going to end on that chase scene, we are going to get slaughtered online. So,
and the way they end this episode is like, holy fuck, we're in. It's the meme of me with the cum everywhere.
Exactly. And the way people were reacting, I was thinking, all right, this feels like there's a Baby Yoda moment at the end of this. Not quite, the shock, and we'll get into it. There most certainly was. And yeah, for the people on YouTube, this is the same day, just a few hours later, even though I'm pretty sure Robbie is going to wear that shirt until the season finale. He's going to have this thing on for the next 4 weeks, basically. I wore my Godzinga shirt the entire time I was in Latvia, which was only 3 days. Robbie's going to be wearing this for the next 4 weeks.
That's a fact. Hey, I might get a different Obi-Wan shirt. I might mix it up like that, but it's going to be Obi-Wan merch from here on out. And we got Stranger Things Day that came back. We got Miss Marvel June 8th, which we heard some good things about from Ken Jack. He watched the first 2 episodes. He had very nice things to say about the show. So we are probably going to wind up doing quick hitters for Miss Marvel. I think we're going to do the long breakdown podcast for Obi-Wan and maybe 10, 20-minute quick hitters on our Miss Marvel Thoughts Weekly.
Yeah, I mean, if these reviews are as good as Ken Jack and just the internet in general so far says, they're kind of forcing our hand to do something quick hitters at the very least, if not more so. So again,
Ken Jack compared it to the Mitchells versus the Machines, which is a movie we both love.
Yeah, when Ken Jack said that, I'm like, brother, you don't know who that you're barking up the Mitchells and the Machines stand tree right here. Me and you. You're the one who put me onto it. I put my kids onto it, through the whole pod fam onto it. And I mean, Large liked it, his kids like it, and then guys like me and you in the middle there in terms of age. So it kind of hits everything. If Miss Marvel can do that, I think that's best case scenario. And this, I will say, Obi-Wan may not be for the younger kids. Sienna may have to wait a few years before she gets into this one. Yikes.
The final shot was like out of a horror movie or something.
Yep.
I mean, let's get into it. I also want to recommend, before we get into it, because you reminded me with the Mitchells versus the Machines, another movie for any parents that want to watch a fun movie with their kids that you're going to appreciate as well. The new Chip and Dale movie on Disney Plus is so unbelievably good. I watched it while I was getting the Beatles tattoo. Shout out our guy Trig.
The man.
Ringo on the inside. George back there. He designed those. While I was getting that tattooed, my guy Jay Hernandez has all the streaming services in his tattoo shop. So he's like, put on whatever you want. I was like, let's throw on the new Chip and Dale movie. It was so funny.
I saw that at the top of the Disney Plus carousel, Chip and Dale Rescue Rangers or whatever. And at first I was like, wow, at first I just thought it was the old cartoon, because I grew up watching the cartoon. And I'm like, oh no, this looks a little newer. And I thought it was a series for kids, because my kids have fucked my algorithm up on Disney Plus. They're watching all the little kid stuff. So there's heavy Marvel and Star Wars for me, and then a bunch of cartoons. That Chip and Dale, I've heard from, again, all different people, and to the point where it's like, oh no, you're gonna love it. Your kids might like it, but it is almost like more for adults than it is for kids. And we're saying maybe my kids, they don't really get a lot of the innuendo. It's pretty safe for them in that regard, right? It's not scary or
totally
anything.
No, totally safe. It's just that they almost do a Who Framed Roger Rabbit in bringing in cameos, and there's 100 cameos that your kids aren't even gonna know who that is, and you're gonna be like, holy shit, how did they get the rights to bring that guy in?
My guy Kyle Gelling, he produces We Gotta Believe as well. That was his exact thing. Was I heard Roger Rabbit from a bunch of people say no more. This is someone, a diehard Roger Rabbit fan who loves the shoe death in Roger Rabbit. Spoiler is the most heart-wrenching death in the history of cinema. I will go to my grave saying that.
That movie used to scare the shit out of me.
Oh yeah,
when I was a kid with
Judge
the
Doom?
eyes. Oh my God, couldn't do it.
When I killed your brother, I thought just like My wife's in the room, by the way, and she's like, "Oh, the idiocy is back here. We're talking Roger Rabbit."
So let's get into Obi-Wan. We've talked about the random stuff of the world enough. Let's get into episode 2, real in-depth. It opens with a cool looking planet that Obi-Wan comes down into, green atmosphere, green clouds, and he's looking for the ship that Princess Leia is being held on at this point, not realizing that this is a trap. He meets a homeless clone trooper played by Tamora Morrison. And this was really cool. This is this kind of stuff that we've been asking for, like in the Mandalorian recaps. I feel like we even said, like, aren't there a ton of clone troopers just hanging around, like maybe millions of clone troopers? Why don't we ever see one of those guys? And you get in the Mandalorian, like, oh, I recognize that voice, or Boba saying they might recognize my voice. Here we see like a homeless veteran, basically, big beard, almost castaway style beard, and he's begging for money. It's a shame. You're like, oh, fuck. That's what happened to the clones.
The reality of like mixing Star Wars with reality. And that's kind of what you're getting there. Like not a good reality, but like reality's not fucking good. Reality stinks. And that's kind of the part of it. And it's like, don't give him your credits. He's just going to use it on spice, right? Like that's what you would say if you saw him there. But we've been very much about that. And dare I say, so far, the best Tamora Morrison of this year is his cameo. No, I don't want to say that.
Come on, we're not going to hate Rancor. Riding Rancor.
I'm not going to. There were some highlights of the Book of Boba Fett. I'm not going to hate as much. Shooting the Sarlacc down and shit like that was fucking cool. But no more hatred. But yeah, I again, more stuff like that. Star Wars, not just for this series, but for the entire Star Wars universe. Keep that shit coming, because again, where you make it feel like a real universe, that's where fucking world building happens, and we've seen it with Marvel.
And I think watching the Clone Wars even makes a moment like that better, because they really did a good job of humanizing the clones and making you feel for them. And Obi-Wan was like a companion to so many. He was a friend to so many. So for him to see that, it was, I'm sure, very heart-wrenching for him as a character. He also meets a girl that is trying to give him spice. She's like, oh, I got all different kinds of spice. I got this strain, this strain, this strain. Really came off as a true drug dealer. And I didn't realize until afterwards that that is Ewan McGregor's daughter. She says at one point, like, oh, like I'm somebody's daughter. And it's Ewan McGregor's. That's whose daughter.
Her exact quote was, I was someone's daughter once. And I'm telling you, that shit was haunting, man. That was some legitimately haunting shit that she said. And the fact that it's his kind of that's pretty cool. Funny. But I was like, as someone that has her, I was like, oh, that's fucked up. Like basically you live your whole life after you have kids just to not fuck it up, so then they become the people who are, by the way, the name of the planet was Dayu. I wrote it down. Big time Penn Station vibes I got there. And Bob Fox, he's no stranger to Penn Station as a Jersey guy. What is the worst thing you've seen at Penn Station? Is there one moment, one thing that you saw?
Oh my God. I mean, so many. I've gotten, like, I talked about getting shoulder checked. That was like not too far from Penn Station. I mean, you see like people like constantly passed out, like shitting themselves, literally, like poop coming out of a butt in Penn Station. I think I've been asked for heroin in the Penn Station bathroom, either Penn Station or Newark Penn Station, which isn't a big improvement over the Penn Station.
the station's so nice they named it twice. It's like, why would you ever name that like fucking the same thing as the goddamn awful New York station? And then it's confusing if you're coming from out of town, which I think Joe Judge got off at the Newark Penn Station. We were supposed to meet in the New York Penn Station, which I guess a little precursor for his time in New York, unfortunately. But I mean, there's just some absolute nightmare stories. I remember I went to the bathroom in Penn Station once just to take a piss and learned very quickly, bad idea. Just go to like another, go to another McDonald's or whatever. I'm pretty sure there was a dude with like his pants around his ankles, shit everywhere, and amongst the many who were in a similar state at that time. If you guys take one thing away from the basement, if you're visiting New York, do not go in the Penn Station bathrooms. That is the one word of wisdom we will leave you with there. And avoid it at like 3 a.m. if possible, or like just go right to your train. Don't look around. Don't wander. There's no magic in Penn Station after midnight. Trust me. Large has a story. I believe it's at the Port Authority, where he saw like two bums fucking each other as another one was like yelling at them, cursing, and taking a shit. So a lot of wonder in New York City, which again, Dayu, I kind of brought me back to my old city right there. I got those kind of vibes seeing it all over again.
Yeah, some people say Penn Station is the most wretched hive of scum and villainy in the entire country, and I would agree.
That's a great point. And our boy Obi-Wan there too. I think he knows like it's full of villainy and hive of scum and villainy because he did his Chekhov's Qui-Gon again. He's like, "Oh, master, sure could use a hand right now," and fucking crickets.
Like, yeah. It's like when you start talking to yourself, or you're like, "Please God, let me get through this." Like when you're on a bumpy plane, you're like, "Please God, I'll never take a plane again." Like that's Obi-Wan with Qui-Gon.
Never doing it. And I also, it's almost like when you try to use the Force, you're just hoping that one time it's going to work. You're like,
yeah.
When's the last time you used the Force, or tried to use the Force?
I went to the American Dream Mall, and they had a couple sliding doors, and every time, you kind of in your mind, you're like, "That was me."
I was putting Sienna to bed and the door was open and it was like cold. So I wanted to keep the heat in. I was like, let's just give it a shot here. You never know. It was like 2 or 3 weeks ago. So I was like, nope.
Yeah. You never know when the midichlorians are going to kick in. It's like an allergy. Sometimes you're not allergic to something for like half your life. And then all of a sudden you're allergic.
One of these days, one of us is going to get the Force. It's going to be awesome. Awesome.
Oh, it'll be big for the podcast. That'll be awesome. Yeah. It'll be amazing.
Right now we're just bootleg Jedis like Dinesh.
Yeah. Basically. And I also thought his daughter in this scene came off as a more natural, like young kid in the Star Wars universe than like the mod kids in Book of Boba Fett.
Yep.
It was a very similar role, but like she just came off way more. And maybe that's because she has the chemistry with her dad. Like that makes sense, but I don't know.
You could throw the pink hair on her, but you don't have to make her like steampunky. Like I didn't. I
she
felt
had
like
scales
I was
on her skin, which was cool.
Yeah. Yeah, they can get crazy. Like Star Wars, you don't have to just have these crazy, out of sorts, bigger than life characters, and then you have like the normal humans. You can kind of have the scales, kind of have some little quirks here and there. So hopefully they do that, in the future shows and movies.
This next scene I love. We get a little kid running up to Obi-Wan and being like, "A Jedi, you need a Jedi. I could bring you to a Jedi." And he brings him to our guy Kumail, who we love. I know you love Kumail. I love Kumail. I don't know anyone who doesn't. And at first you think like, "Oh shit, he's a Jedi." I wrote all caps, Kumail the Jedi. Oh my God, this is awesome for him. He's not a Jedi. He's a scam artist, someone that you could see around Penn Station or Washington Square Park, the chess, what do they call it? Hustlers. He's basically just he has magnets and he's pretending that he could use the Force. And this is definitely something that would exist at this point in the Star Wars universe. I was like, oh, how could I never think of that? Just some kind of scummy scam artist pretending he's a Jedi, being like, "Oh, I'll help you get off planet for X amount of credits." And Obi-Wan fishes it out immediately. He knows right away. He's like, "Oh yeah, you're a Jedi. Let me grab that magnet out of your hand, asshole."
Yeah, like if you're the same as a Jedi, like opening or closing doors and windows and shit, you probably feel that, right? Like almost like a breeze just because you have the Force. And he's like, "Oh, this guy's a grifter." But again, like real life shit, real life scumbag New York shit brought into the Star Wars universe. I appreciate that as a scumbag New Yorker. I just love to see it. This guy will be doing like the 3-card Monty or the shell game, whatever he does just to rip you up.
3-card Monty is a big one. Don't do that in New York. You'll get
if I've never seen it to this day, but like I kind of always wanted to see it just to see like how
you've never seen that.
No, I've never. You've seen it before?
I've seen in Washington Square Park. We used to do like man on the street videos, and you would see like tables set up next to the chess people with the 3-card Monty. Yeah,
it's like that's like people don't understand. Like carnival games are like the same way, like that. Like they're all rigged against you, but for some reason, carnival games are just fine and they're like allowed or whatever. Because I guess you can win occasionally, where I feel like you can't win the 3-card Monty. Actually, at Penn Station too. I had a guy once beg me for money. He's like, "I need to get home. I need to, get back to my family. I just need money for a train ticket." I gave him like $5 or whatever. A week later, same guy, same story. And that was when I learned we do not give money to people begging for it. I will give food. Actually, that's a big thing I do now is I will take my leftovers with me and either I'll give it to someone or I'll just leave it near garbage so the rats can't get it, but someone can, kind of take it and eat it off of there. Again, in New York City, this was basically you're going to Canal Street to find a Jedi. That's where I got my fake ID back in the day. You're now going to get fucking the Force down in Canal Street. I love it.
There are kind of vibes of that planet from Loki as well in this place. Do you know the planet I'm talking about that was like collapsing in on itself that they had to get off of? There's a lot of the neon stuff in the nighttime, especially. It was a cool look for a planet. Also reminded me of like the underbelly of Coruscant in Attack of the Clones, like the beginning.
That's where I thought we were at first, because I had forgotten that we were going to the Dayu planet. I was like, oh, wait, what was the name of the planet they had mentioned? Because we had just watched episode 1 this morning. And then I was like, all right, because I got the Solo vibes, which is usually not a very good thing. But I was like, I feel like they're gonna make Coruscant better in the coming shows and movies for us. But I'm 1,000% with you. Was that the one with the train in Loki? Was that the train planet too, where they're on the train?
Yes.
Yeah. Great stuff. Loki dancing with the knives. Oh, shit's great.
Getting drunk. Good. Another. He smashes the glass or whatever.
I have a question for you, Bob. I don't know if you know off the top of your head. I guess you wouldn't know the exact answer, but how many pounds of bantha beef do you have to chop to get 1,000 credits? This guy asking for 1,000 credits. I'm like, that's like fucking 5 years of bantha fucking butchering.
What were they giving him? Were they 50 in the first episode? They were like 100 was the normal and 50 was the half rate or something.
Oh, is that what they said? I didn't hear the number, so I guess that.
Maybe, but I don't even know if the credits if they're Republic credits, or I don't know what the credit system's even like at this point.
That's a lot of bantha butchering, though. Nonetheless, that must suck. And again, Dinesh. The only reason I don't like Dinesh is because he's so fucking jacked in the Eternals, and I'm like, you're a nerd. You're supposed to be like us in the basement. You're not supposed to be that ripped and good looking.
He has a great line against Kumail in this moment where he's like, "I'm gonna use you," basically, and he's like, "Oh, what? I thought you thought I was a rat," and he says, "Rats know the sewers better than anyone else." And I was like, "Oh, that's fucking classic Obi-Wan right there. That's good writing." Yeah. And he kind of he sees an alien, sneaks into a Star Wars meth lab, spice lab. I don't know what we call this, but I wrote Breaking Bad Obi-Wan. He's got a gas mask on and everything. He eventually finds a little prison in the back. And there was a really cool hand-to-hand combat scene where he just fucks 2 people up in a hallway. It was the first action scene of Kenobi, probably, other than, the chase, which, we won't talk about.
Yeah, I like racked my brain. I paused it for like 5 minutes and tried to think of a good like pun using Breaking Bad. It was like Heizen Kenobi, Breaking Obi. I couldn't really get one. I did see someone say Better Call Maul. That's a good fucking way to describe it.
This is a funny story. I designed a shirt, Clem, Better Call Maul shirt, when I was in high school, and I sold it. And then they made that the title of the final episode, or the final level in episode 1 for Lego Star Wars, Better Call Maul.
Bob Fox, I'm going to take that as Bob Fox basically created the name of that level on its own. Somehow, that's like someone's favorite shirt. It's like, I saw that shirt and I knew I had to name it that level.
I'll post a picture of the shirt, like for the people, like I'm sure I could find it. I found it pretty recently. When I saw the levels called that, I went back and found it. It looks just like the yellow Better Call Saul logo, but it says like, need a senator kidnapped? Like Better Call Maul, it just changed some Star Wars-y thing to that.
We got to get like all the Bob Fox old t-shirts. How many times did you email someone at Barstool a t-shirt idea?
Oh man, dozens, literally dozens.
When people want to know how do you get to Barstool, that amount of work and grind. Bob Fox was on the grind.
And I will note, I feel like I told the story of me getting to Barstool a bunch, and I told it in a way that people misinterpreted it. And that I said, I emailed every day and said, like, I'll do whatever. It wasn't just that. I think it was the fact that I was like actually including work with every email. Every email had a t-shirt design or a podcast or a blog submitted to it. Like we get every day, I'm sure you get the same DMs. Like, I'll do anything to work at Barstool. You can't really decipher through like which person would be better until they send you the work. So if you're looking to get a job at Barstool and you're looking to get into any realm, this doesn't just apply to me and Clem, whatever. Email stuff to the people here or DM it to them on Twitter, tweet it to them, but like actually put the work before you send it.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
I think that's the best advice because you see that even tweeting like videos that people make, like that's how so many people here have gotten hired in the past few years.
Like you said, dude, and if it has a Barstool theme to it, where I always think Mackenzie, where she does the videos and she takes a podcast and she just acts like the people. It's Barstool centric. It's pretty like basic in terms of the setup, but it has such a deep core to and all the fans are going to love that kind of stuff. So yeah, perfectly said. So Bob Fox, I got to see some of these shirts. Better Call Maul. Unbelievable.
There's a good one.
You had that.
That was a good one, yeah.
Years before Kenobi brought it to the big screen. Like you said, it's nice to know that like there is Star Wars meth labs out there in a galaxy far, far away.
It looked cool. It reminded me almost of the Breaking Bad, but also there's like the little Breaking Bad reference in Zootopia where they like go to the meth lab and that, and it kind of reminded me of that the way it was lit and everything under the lights. He finds Leia's prison cell, kind of another like poetry, it rhymes, where it's like you think of Luke finding Leia in the prison on Death Star, but she's not in there. It's a trap. Shout out Admiral Akbar. It's a trap. He gets cornered by Flea and the Red Hot Chili Peppers. And I wrote right on screen, I was like, this is crazy. Flea is on screen with Obi-Wan right now. And like he was holding his own in the scene. I was like I said last episode, I was like, he feels like a good actor right now. So it is a trap, but Obi-Wan kind of flips it on them, hits a big smoke pellet on the ground, episode 1 style maybe, where, you know, the gas was in the room and they had to get out of it. He slinks out of the room, finds Leia, and then the Grand Inquisitor meets up with Reva. And he's like, oh, Obi-Wan really is here? She's like, oh, yeah. And he's like, all right, we don't need you. You're the least of all of us. You basically suck at your job. We hate you. You could leave the planet. I'm going to take over from here. Kind of reminded me of Rogue One as well, where who is it? Ben Mendelsohn is like Krennic. Director Krennic takes credit for the Death Star over Tarkin. Or Tarkin, opposite. Tarkin takes credit for the Death Star over Director Krennic. And he's like, my achievement.
Corporate fucking politics, even in a galaxy far, far away as well. It's just a long, long time ago. It was the same just as it is today. So Obi-Wan not being able to use a lightsaber, you realize just how much he is hamstrung by that, right? Because you see lightsaber, you know it's a Jedi. He is like a fucking Mortal Kombat uppercut straight out of like Sub-Zero. I was amazed by it. I was like, fuck.
He had a clothesline too, like a legit WWF clothesline at one point.
I didn't know Kenobi had that shit in him. God bless. And I don't know, it's Obi-Wan is a sweet name, but like Kenobi, I feel like rings out in the streets more than even Obi-Wan, right? They're like, Kenobi's here. I know he's here. Maybe it's Grievous always would say Kenobi and like.
And also in the Clone Wars, that's like the most famous line out of Darth Maul. Like Sam Witwer, who does the voice, is amazing. And he has this iconic like Kenobi scream.
And if Star Wars can do nothing else, they get the names right every single time. It is embarrassing though that Kenobi fell for a flea trap, and this is a flea trap, and it's granted it's also like the Inquisitor to Raven's trap and everything, but it just didn't look good. You're talking about episode 1 vibes. I actually got vibes of Heisenberg where he's like, the only thing is this isn't meth. And he throws the rock on the ground and it blows up Tuco's fucking Breaking Bad is such a good show.
It's like the former Kingpin. It was at the corner apartment. Oh, that was such a good episode as he's walking away from that. Yeah.
Yeah. And this is obviously different in terms of it, like they're choking, but I'm like, I know that like the Jedi have their codes. You have to like kill these fucking guys though. Like you can't be like, up there is an actual Jedi. Obi-Wan Kenobi's here. You got to like slit their fucking throats with your lightsaber as they're dead or do something. Like you can't just have her go there and like, oh yeah, Raven, everything you said is true. Ben Kenobi is here. Obi-Wan Kenobi is here. What are we doing, Obi-Wan? Jesus Christ.
The codes you throw out the window at this point. Like, you know, that's excused at this point. There's no rules. Like you said, the war's kind of over. The war will begin again. Battle of Yavin, I kind of consider that like, the beginning of the next war. But like, as of right now, Obi, kill those guys.
It's like Obi-Wan, it's like either we have to be complete cowards and not fight anybody, or we have to like not hurt anybody and let them stick around. It's like, you idiots, this is why you keep losing to the fucking bad guys is because you just allow them to like not die and they like figure out and they can like hunt you down. You goddamn, I'm just getting more mad at the Jedi every single episode.
You're almost turning me now too, because the more you talk, the more I'm like, he doesn't even change his last name. He doesn't change his haircut. He doesn't change his beard, his style. He shows up to this planet in the Jedi robes doing his fucking Ewan McGregor Jedi, you know, he's doing the twirl in the mustache. It's like, bro, you are doing every check mark of Obi-Wan that they need.
It's crazy. The more he tries to like hide, the more he looks like a fucking Jedi. What an asshole.
He was he's like, let me put on a disguise, my Jedi robe. They won't be able to tell here. What?
I'm going to pull it over my head, though, so they can't see my face. That's exactly what the Jedi look like. Hood over face. You goddamn whore. Just shave your beard. It's a fucking sweet beard. Shave it. Shave your head. He kind of looked like a skinny version of me. You're a handsome guy, Kenobi. Fucking like, and again,
smooth Kenobi. Yeah.
Out of 8 gazillion names, where like Star Wars names, you can have an SQQ, GW, Batman symbol, another Batman symbol, and somehow it all like makes a real name. And
I didn't even know you knew Elon Musk's kid name.
And instead, Obi-Wan's like, no, just going to go by Ben. Doesn't sound anything like Obi-Wan. Just going to go Ben. You fucking idiot moron. Dickhead. I'm so mad at.
He's got a get us back, on this series. We're like, come on, Obi-Wan, how could you do this? But it's almost like watching a horror movie. The main character the whole time, you're like, come on, how could you not see? Get in the moving car, whatever, like.
Obi-Wan's the guy who's like, no, I'm going to go into this abandoned shack filled with chainsaws. It's like, Obi-Wan, that is the wrong place to go right there.
Someone needs to Photoshop him in that commercial.
Exactly. Did you also see there was a character looked like the giant Muppet guy, and he's like an ogre. I didn't know what his name is. His name is Sweetums. I think that was just him. I think he was just on that planet. I have to go back and like brighten up a little. I'm like, I guess Sweetums is now canon for Star Wars, which was pretty awesome to see. And I love that line where he says, the Grand Inquisitor said to Reva, he goes, no matter what power you crave, it won't change what you are. And that was a great line. And I was thinking, a dickhead. I was doing the Eddie voice when he keeps going, he's a dickhead. He's just being a dickhead right now. He's being a dickhead. and then she says, stench is your failure. Like, oh, what a fucking line. And that dude definitely has a stench. I don't know if it's failure, if it's body odor. He kind of could be like, even like a Ben Gay. Like he lubes his head up and shit like that, but he definitely has a stench to him.
Like motor oil, even maybe like something weird, something where you're like, why do you even smell like that, dude? That doesn't even make sense. But yeah, Obi-Wan and Leia change and they run away from these like bounty hunters that they're kind of getting hunted by. And I wanted to note the Obi-Wan bounty poster was badass. Like I would hang that poster up in my room where it was like almost the wanted poster of Obi-Wan on the screens and everything. John Wick vibes. Ever since John Wick, anytime there's a bounty on anyone, I'm like, oh, that's John Wick. Like, come on. Even the Mandalorian episode that Deborah Chow did could be a connection like that. Same director and whatnot. But they run away, and then Leia eventually gets concerned that Obi-Wan doesn't have her best interests in mind because she sees like the picture and she's like, why is that picture up there? She starts running away from him, which is a whole fucking, you're like, oh my God, come on, Leia. They go on a rooftop chase. Leia eventually falls and Obi-Wan has to use the Force to save her. Awesome scene, the way that they handled it and the way that it was it felt big. Obi-Wan using the Force. It felt like he hadn't used the Force in possibly 10 years, the way he was like really struggling and trying to channel it and then just got her at the last second.
Yeah, and the thing about Leia here, which I'm interested to see what people are going to think of the child actor, because I've seen a lot of good stuff. I can simply see some Star Wars fans just hating all child actors, but I feel like most people are going to like her. She hits him with like, you'd be more like your granddaughter, right? Where he's saying he's an old man.
A couple times. I liked their interactions. I thought like especially Leia was good in the last episode, but I thought she was at her best when going back and forth with Obi-Wan, which is another thing. Like last episode, we said, is she going to just forget that this ever happened? Because when she says like, General, Kenobi, you served my father in the Clone Wars. Why wouldn't she just be like, hey, remember me?
Remember we were in Penn Station together? That was fucking crazy, right? It was fucking, those fucking people are coming after us. You saved my life. And she's also like sassy, which I think kind of plays into the Leia we know. Like, think about Leia in New Hope, where she's like, I got to save us herself. She's blasting herself out. And that's kind of the way Leia is as a character, even episode 5 and a little bit in 6. So I do like that you kind of see it with her at a young age. The chasing scene, this chasing scene was silly as well. And I will say this, like chasing a kid through a crowded place is kind of like a weird thing where you're trying not to hit people, yet they're small. There was a few points where I think we're 0 for 2 on chase scenes. That's all I'm going to say. I think we're 0 for 2.
This one was way better, though. Like, yes, the other one was like so bad. Like you said last episode, like that didn't deserve to be in a Star Wars product. This one I thought was like passable. I didn't think it wasn't great, but it wasn't horrible.
I probably don't say anything about it if the last chase scene didn't exist, but with it, and I will say, like when you are looking for a kid and like you for just a second, you take your eye off them and they run away, and your wife's going to say, were you on your phone? I'm like, no, I swear to God, I wasn't on phone. I just looked the other way for a second. And you're about to, and you start like looking at all the things, just like Obi-Wan's looking at all the different like crazy things that are there as he's looking for the kid. And like you said, a kid could like sneak away. Also, even Penn Station, if some little kid was screaming and like his old dude was chasing her, even Penn Station, someone would step up and be, hey man, like what's your deal here, right? Stranger danger. I think even New York City people recognize stranger danger. So I did not like that. But the other thing was all you had to do was make her float for just a second and you could have avoided her. She wasn't like, make me a balloon animal. And it's like, I'm not a magician, lady. I don't know how to make a
rock
animal.
Float. Just show her you have the Force.
Just do something fucking. Like it's I don't say using the Force is like riding a bike. I've never used a Force. Thanks for fucking reminding me, Obi-Wan. But yeah, like a little pebble or something isn't that hard, right? Or even just like make the sound with your do do do. She's a kid. She's fucking a smart kid, but she's not that fucking smart. Like think of something. God damn it, Obi-Wan. I'm really I have to like pump the brakes here a little. I have to like ride for my guy because I know things.
Yourself to like the Inquisitors after saying you weren't gonna like them.
I'm gonna be like, I hope Vader chops this motherfucker in half.
Oh, that's the other thing. You know what? That's exactly what's gonna happen. I'm gonna predict the future of this podcast is maybe the Inquisitors aren't cool enough to completely turn Clem to the dark side. Vader is. Once Vader comes into the show, Clem is going back to the dark side.
It's calling me. I'm just gonna say that. I'm looking in that fucking tunnel with like the iguana in Dagobah, and it's like cold. Yep. I'm looking at that tunnel like we're about to go back there right now. If I watch Empire Strikes Back, I'm basically on the dark side. I can watch that tonight, and I'm just gonna show up with the fucking Vader mask on next episode.
So all the commotion of the blasters firing on the rooftops gets Reva's attention. She starts running over there doing parkour. There's parkour scene after parkour. She loves parkour. She jumps over fences. She vaults things, all of that. And this is when he gets the save. And then the Grand Inquisitor kills our guy Flea. He completely just like, it's like a helicopter blade almost that he does with his lightsaber. We know that they could also use those as helicopter blades from Rebels, and they could fly away on their lightsabers. Very controversial when they brought it into Rebels, so I doubt they'll bring it to the live action show, but it is a possibility. RIP to our dog Flea.
RIP our dog Flea. That was tough to see. Played his role though. A little bit of a little. I mean, granted, it wasn't his call to get Flea involved, but it's a little bit like the Joker in Dark Knight, where it's like we're just gonna start taking down everyone until the head honcho is the only one left, right? So that kind of goes. And this is a dated reference, I understand, but for anyone around my age, they'll understand this. Kid Leia is basically like Natalia from GoldenEye, where Obi-Wan's just trying to keep her alive, and she's doing everything in her power to get killed. And he basically like barely saves her at the end. Natalia from GoldenEye was the fucking worst. You got to keep her alive in this one level. And she just was like running right into the gunfire. And you're just like, what the fuck am I going to do? So Leia, like, it's amazing that Leia survives all the way to episode 4, let alone the movie we do not speak of anymore. And then came back to life in the scene we do not speak of anymore.
Well, Rise of Skywalker, she's alive in that one too. She unfortunately passes away in that one. Yeah. Respect to Kumail for turning things around on this episode, because he was just a scummy scam artist. He was a rat who knew the sewers, right? Acting as a Jedi, stealing credits from families. And then, like many Star Wars characters do, kind of a Lando or DJ-esque move, he says, you know what? I'm going to turn it around. I'm going to redeem myself. He gives Obi-Wan passage off planet, tells him how to get to this area. And then he distracts Reva while they could get to that ship. And there's like a very heartfelt moment where, as they're talking back and forth, Obi-Wan and Leia, he's like, you remind me of someone, like she was strong and stubborn like you. Yep. It was, he's talking about Padme in that moment. And it's like, oh my, I saw some people saying, is he talking about Satine? But Satine, he also calls her fearless. Like, I love Satine in the cartoon and everything. She straight up wasn't fearless. Like, she was very worried about Mandalore. She was worried about the Death Watch. Padme was more of the fearless one. I think it was definitely a Padme reference.
He's like, yeah, and Clem was talking about in the first recap episode where you're running through the woods and you have a body double. Fucking called it, man. Obi-Wan knows what's up. Kenobi. He sounds so much cooler as Kenobi. He does.
And Reva, while she's like, not interrogating Kumail, but she's like in the conversation with him where he's buying time, she kind of has like a Kylo Ren ability where she's like, oh, wait a minute, like I know where he is. And she just starts going. She kind of reads his mind, which you don't see every Jedi have. I like that she has that. It might be a dark side attack. And then she corners them where Leia is able to get on the ship. She takes the lightsaber out. It's like this dark area. We've seen the shot of Obi-Wan in the trailer. You just see his eyes and it's dark. And she says, Vader is going to be like very, pleased, or Vader wants to get you. And you see his eyes like change for a second. She's like, oh yeah, you didn't know. He's alive. Anakin Skywalker is alive, which is like, whoa, I'm surprised Vader even like, she knows that he's Anakin Skywalker. I didn't know
How does he know? How does she know?
I don't know. How can she slap?
I'm going to keep getting higher with my, I sound like Frank after the Mets blow a 3-0 clear. How does she know though?
For real. How does she know?
Oh,
Was she on the Jedi Temple? Or was
People
she in the Jedi? Did she see him in the Jedi Temple?
I saw some people saying she might have had like some sort of access to the Jedi records or something, saw that he was Vader, but like that is a secret that this fucking guy is Darth fucking Vader, and he's alive, and he's this giant like, killer. She doesn't really say what he is though, right? She just says that he is alive. So
yeah, true.
You like, where does she like when you say he's alive? You're saying he's alive after Obi-Wan sliced him, diced him, and basically lit him on fire. Learned about the higher ground the hard way, unfortunately. So and
Obi-Wan now, from his point of view, he's like, oh fuck! Not only is he alive, he's been hunting me for 10 fucking years. Like he is the one that's sending all these people after me, hunting. Like it looked like, I wrote down in my notes, his performance was so good. Ewan McGregor in the scene, it looked like he was having a panic attack when he was in there. Yeah. Like he was like starting to breathe like in and out. And then there's like a distraction, and Reva kills the Grand Inquisitor, which is crazy because he's alive in Rebels, which takes place after this. So I don't think he's actually dead. I don't know how he survived that, but I think he'll somehow come back. And then you see Obi-Wan's face, and then they cut straight to Anakin's face. Anakin in the fucking back to tank. We said, hey, you got to cast Hayden. Like if you're casting him, you're going to show his face, right? They show his face, and it's terrifying. He almost looked like the guy from Mad Max, who has like the thing on his thing without the hair and all that. He's burnt up, white skin, like it hasn't seen sunlight in a decade. I mean, terrifying. And also the best, like this felt like the end of a premiere, where it's like, oh, this is a oh fuck moment. Like you talked about, a Baby Yoda type moment.
That was the Baby Yoda type moment that this double episode. I mean, it's basically just one long episode. Most people probably watched it back to back. And that is like the, oh fuck, here we go. And now it'll be up to Star Wars to then these next 4 episodes keep that momentum going. And I don't think even the next episode, I think we've always said, or I don't know if it leaked, that people said 4, 5, 6 is going to probably be Vader time, right?
Yeah, I think
Vader time. That's fucking Vader time. Yeah. They just hit like a button, Vader time, and he just fucking comes out, pulls the fucking lightsaber out of there. And I'm telling you, the only part of this that bummed me out was my first thought was that fucking back to tank. I have to admit, if they had just released this before Boba Fett, I would have been like, oh my God, it's Vader. But my thing was, is he going to start having flashbacks again? Are we doing this whole thing? So I have to admit, but again, I'm excited for it. I'm stoked. That's the Vader element in this is what I think is going to bring this show to the next level. The Grand Inquisitor, bum. Just an absolute fucking bum. Didn't even make it through the second episode. I thought this guy, like Grand Inquisitor, like maybe Major Inquisitor, maybe like Junior Inquisitor.
Colonel or something.
Yeah, exactly. Grand Inquisitor, fucking joke. And maybe, I guarantee he comes back to life and they'll be like, well, to heal him, we had to like do some things, and it's going to kind of be like the Mountain for Game of Thrones, and that's what's going to turn his head to the cone shape. So all the nerds will be happy. Stop crying in the basement. Everything's going to be all right. They'll explain it all. Trust me. They're like, Filoni has heard your fucking pleas. But
people are so mad. I can't believe you could kill him. Make Rebels canon again. Guys, I don't think that they're taking one of the main characters out of a Dave Filoni show. Like Dave Filoni's involved in this. If Dave Filoni wanted to, he could have said, hey, Deborah, make sure you don't kill him. He's like around and things after this. I don't think Lucasfilm was making mistakes like that at this like day and age.
I saw someone on Twitter, and I kind of like this idea. He's like, let's just start fucking with all the canon shit and just be like, and completely fuck with people's timelines and the trilogy and stuff, and just kill Obi-Wan without any explanation. It's like, Obi-Wan's dead. It's like, no, he's in episode 4. He's the whole reason Luke goes into the.
It's like an Avril Lavigne clone comes in, like one of those, like it just looks just like him. Yeah.
Yeah, and that'll let you know that nobody is safe if they just fucking kill Obi-Wan in his own show in like episode 3, and you'll be like, "What the fuck just happened there?" So again, there's enough crazy. I've already lived that shit in the sequel trilogy where we're just bringing back characters that don't need to be brought back from the dead to use. But it would be kind of funny. And again, like I don't think the Grand Inquisitors and. There's been other people, right? Fennec Shan, right? She was like in the same. I think we thought
she got shot in the stomach, right?
Yeah.
all of a sudden they were like, she'd be great to bring back. Let's bring her back. And she was great to bring back.
Darth Maul got cut in half and fell like a fucking billion feet. And he ended up coming back as a spider. So somehow, some way, I can believe that everything will make sense. They can make it make sense in the end. They'll use the right kind of duct tape or whatever. I'm not too worried about it. And I don't even fucking know. I didn't even know who the Inquisitors were until the fucking trailer came out. So I think it's going to be right. I will say, though, the Inquisitors knowing that the Organas know a living Jedi is kind of a problem now, isn't it? And granted, like the Grand Inquisitor being dead does cut like one of those endings off, but it just seems like it's kind of weird that now she knows, Raven knows, and anyone else that might be like on the email chain, it's like, oh yeah, by the way, we found Obi-Wan, and like we captured the
Gaz of the Empire knows.
Gaz of the Empire.
It is weird. Yeah, it's like it's going to be interesting to see at the end of this series where they leave everyone off pre A New Hope, because there's a lot of questions already up in the air about that, where it's, how does Leia not remember? Is Luke not going to remember? Is Luke ever going to meet him? Is that going to be it's all to be determined. And next week, don't wait till Friday. Don't let that get in your head. It is coming out on Wednesday next week. And then we're on Wednesdays from here on out. So that's like an interesting little fold. We'll probably do the same schedule we had for Book of Boba Fett and our Marvel shows. Wednesday release days, and then Friday recaps on the YouTube channel and on podcast feeds and everything. We just did a little extra special thing this week for Obi-Wan, the premiere and whatnot. Another thing I wanted to talk about before we get out of here. People are still DMing me, and they're not like thrilled that we're going to see Obi-Wan versus Vader again. And they're like, it doesn't really make sense that like they're fighting again. Like, I thought A New Hope was the first time that they saw each other since Mustafar. I thought that obviously my whole life, but I think it's very excusable based on two things. I wrote a blog and I mentioned these. In Revenge of the Sith, Padme's last words to Obi-Wan are like, there's still light in him, Obi-Wan. There's still light. I think that could motivate Obi-Wan to be like, I want to pull him back from the dark side. Still, Padme is still telling me there's light, because he's not really on the Death Star. He's not like, come on, Vader, come back from the dark side. He's accepted that Vader is a fucking bad guy, space Hitler at that point. And then in Return of the Jedi, there's that line, Obi-Wan once thought as you did, when Luke is trying to turn Vader back. And even on Mustafar, like, he didn't do a lot of come back to the light side. He did a lot of, how could you? How could you do that? How could you do that to Padme? You were my brother. I think this fight is going to be more come back to the light side, and we're going to see that. And then the line in Return of the Jedi will have a whole new meaning.
Okay. Yeah, I think you sold me on those two. And I will say, like, trust the Feige, trust the Filoni, trust the Favreau. Like, they have to know the stakes, that if they fuck up this, there will be hell to pay from Star Wars nerds. Not seen since, I mean, probably like a few years ago, to be honest. It's probably since Rise of Skywalker came out. Like, the amount of slander Rise of Skywalker just gets out of the blue on my timeline, even before the Star Wars shows came back this year, people are just like, man, I just caught Rise of Skywalker just the other day. Fuck that steaming pile of shit. And I'm just like, wow, people really hated that movie. I was so disconnected from The Last Jedi. I didn't realize there was so much hatred towards it. So
I like the whole sequel trilogy. Even that movie, I'm like, it's got its faults, but I mean, the scene where Rey fucking chops the TIE fighter in half and then accidentally fucking kills the what she thinks is Chewie in the transport. Oh, what a scene!
That was a ride. That was a roller coaster ride. I forgot about that. But like I said, having those two face off, they're gonna have to nail that scene, because you are kind of taking a little bit of that whole scene away from A New Hope and then Sith, which kind of was a special thing to lump one in the middle. But again,
they're making it a trilogy, like a Gotti Ward, you know?
Yeah. All the great fighters have their trilogies right there. So that would be and we're getting part 2, which sometimes I feel like is the best. So
that's usually the best in fights. I think we did a best fights draft on the Spin and Backfist podcast this week, and all 3 of our first round picks were rematches. So that does,
there you go.
True. And this is almost like a Frankie Edgar, Gray Maynard rivalry, in my opinion. Maynard. If you don't know that, Frankie Edgar lost the first fight, kind of like Anakin. There's a draw in the second fight, which I would assume this has to be a draw on this show, and then he wins the third fight, which would be the one on the Death Star. So that's the MMA trilogy I would compare it to. For the little, you usually do your sports comparisons. I took over. I took the pilot seat for that sports comparison.
I love it. Bob Fox took it. I was going to try to name like Ali Frazier or something like that. That was the only one I was going to go. And I probably would have butchered like the 3 different fights that they had along the way. I know first one was at Madison Square Garden. Second one was the Rumble in the Jungle, right? And then Thrilla in Manila. So I guess Rumble in the Jungle would be
one of the Rumble in the Jungle was against Foreman.
Oh, no, that's Foreman. That's Foreman. Yeah, what am I saying?
So there's a great documentary on that as well. Like I think it's on HBO.
Kings.
Yeah. Oh my God.
Yeah,
I think it's that one. It's like when they were filming it at the time and they show like all the AC in the hotel went out. There was only one floor with AC, so they put like Ali up there and just the whole production into it was crazy. And there's just a shot of George Foreman hitting a heavy bag, just fucking going to town on it, and he like puts a dent in a heavy bag. It's pretty crazy.
Yeah, and George Foreman. I love how this has become. I kind of like it. Now we're going to some combat sports here. George Foreman, just from like I kind of get like I love old school boxing even before like I was born, just because I feel like heavyweights, that's when they just ruled the fucking world. And like I was around for the beginning of Tyson, and I barely remember. I just know he was a force of nature. But like it was like stories back then. You know, boxing at its best is so fucking cool, and that's why I hope we have guys like Canelo and Triple G. You just want them to kind of be good, so you have at least good boxers. You know, Floyd was that for a little, even though his style wasn't. But those boxers, like George Foreman, would just murder motherfucker. He was a bad.
And then he created like one of the greatest inventions ever, the George Foreman grill.
Yeah, shout out to him. That's huge. Like that honestly might have been a better thing than his entire fighting career. By the way, it was Ali Frazier 1 and 2, and then the Thrilla in Manila. I thought that Ali Frazier 2 had a nickname, but joke's on me. I fucked that up.
Guess not. Guess didn't need one. Do we have a hashtag for the end of this episode? What would be a good hashtag?
Let's see here.
Hashtag Jedi Kumail?
Yes. Hashtag
I kind of like that. Everyone loves Kumail. And we will be back for our next episode 3 recap on Friday. So a week from today, if this comes out on Friday, if you get us to 250, we're recording it before it's there, so we're not sure yet. And it'll be less than a week from Saturday if it comes out on Saturday. So we appreciate you guys tuning in. In the comments, last time we did predictions, what should we do this time?
What episode do we see Vader suited up? You think that works?
I like that.
Okay. We'll rock with
that. I think that's a good one.
Or what episode would you say? What episode? I mean, you think they fight in the finale, right? You don't think they do that before?
Yeah.
The penultimate. So yeah, what episode do we see Vader? I'm talking Vader suited up, not in that goddamn flashback tank.
Oh, and give us like we'll do like a death pool this week. Give us like one character you think that we've seen so far that you think is going to die by the end of the series.
Great call. Death pool. Put it down in the comments of YouTube.
Make sure you like this video as well. Show us all the support you can, because we got to keep the lights on here at the basement. We appreciate everyone that is showing the support. We appreciate 3Chi for sponsoring the show, and we will talk to you guys next week.
Do not let the third floor empire take us down.